I will be the first person to tell you that though I love it, and I just talked all about how much I love it, my mental health takes the biggest beating during Fashion Week. Like, I struggle with anxiety. I struggle with not feeling good enough. I struggle with comparison. I just struggle.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Vaughnerable. I am your host, Chelsea Vaughn, and today we're talking all about New York Fashion Week. It is officially Fashion Week again. I don't know how it keeps sneaking up so quickly, but it's every September and every February, and we're here again. So today on the episode, I'm having my friend Caroline Vazzana. She is a fashion influencer. She's written a book. She went to school for fashion. And if you guys aren't watching this on YouTube or like you don't know who she is, like she has these bright, colorful glasses that she wears and switches out. Like this is like her signature look, and she's always wearing like huge, bright pops of color. So picture that in your mind and imagine this, and like that's Caroline. But we've met just over the past year or two at fashion events or just like at influencer events. But she's amazing, and I wanted to have her on talk all things Fashion Week. So we really broke it down for you guys, like what even is Fashion Week? Like, why is it happening? How do you get invited? What has been like some of her best moments or my best moments or memories that we've had? So it's just a really fun episode. Like, I love fashion. In case you guys don't know, I did go to school for fashion and moved to New York to do modeling, but also to work in fashion. So it just has a special place in my heart. And it was just so nice to talk to someone else who's like in love with fashion as much as I am. So I hope you guys learned something about Fashion Week, and I hope that you just enjoyed the episode. And on that note, we're going to have Caroline. Caroline Vazzana, welcome to Vaughnerable.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. How are you today?
I'm good. So happy to be chatting with you. This is so fun.
I know. I'm so happy you came to the studio.
Of course.
We're going to talk about all things Fashion Week today. And first, we're going to start with our hot topic, like cultural moment. I really need to name this segment. I always just like say like my pop culture moment. But the Super Bowl is on Sunday.
Crazy.
And there are two teams playing. We don't care. I don't care about that.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you who's playing.
To me, I know it's one of them's the Eagles, but I don't know what the other one is. The point is, it's really the Rihanna concert for me.
I know. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see her perform.
I cannot believe that she's finally coming out of like hibernation.
I know. I can't wait to see what she's going to wear.
That too. She hasn't performed since 2018. I think it was like the Grammys.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. When Wild Thoughts came out, she performed at the Grammys in 2018.
Wow.
And she hasn't released an album since 2016. So
and now she's like working on an album too, she said, right? Or she hinted at,
I
or
don't
her
know
fans are hinting at. Her fans are making her do it. No, I think she's going to have a huge resurgence. Like, this is so exciting.
Yeah. I don't think she's publicly said officially like I have an album.
Yeah. Hint.
Yeah. But she came out with that new song for Black Panther. But what are your thoughts on Rihanna in general? Like, how do you feel about her?
I think she's such a boss.
Yeah.
She's stunning. She's not just an artist. I feel like she has her companies and her business. So I feel like she's kind of taken her influence even as a performer and been able to leverage it into amazing, very successful companies.
Yeah.
So she's not a fool. Like, she knows what she's doing.
No.
She took a break from performing, and now she's coming back. I feel like taking that break has gotten, like, the hype and excitement and energy, ready. If she was just performing every other week, it wouldn't be as exciting, you know?
That's true. Although Taylor Swift, like, churns out albums, like, every 5 seconds. True. People are still obsessed.
True. The Easter eggs, the Taylor Swift Easter eggs.
I feel like the music is, like, the least of the reasons why I love Rihanna so much.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like she's such an icon and, like, definitely obviously someone I look up to.
Yeah.
But she's a literal billionaire now.
Which is crazy.
And, like, I think the part that I love the most is that, like, when we first got introduced to her, like, it was her singing Umbrella.
Yeah, I guess, right? Like, that was, like, probably one of the first Rihanna songs.
Yeah.
I know of, like, as a...
That was like her first hit, like major hit, I think. And it's like, I feel like people always tried to put her in like a box. Mm-hmm. And she always just comes out on top doing something else. Like, always. She's a full-on mogul. She's like to the point now where it's like literally not even about her music.
No,
Obviously.
no, it's about her. People just love her.
Yeah, people just love her as a person, and I'm very excited for the freaking performance. I would
can't
I
wait
would
to
give my
see.
firstborn child to go.
No, I can't wait to see, and I can't wait to just see what she performs and definitely what she wears and everything. I'm so excited.
I wonder if she's gonna do like a new release.
Drop something
Yeah.
new. Ooh, I could see her doing that or announcing an album at that she's, something.
I feel like there's no way it's just gonna be straightforward. Like she's just gonna do a montage of all of her best songs and then leave.
No,
Something's happening.
So they're dropping something.
Yeah, for sure. So for everyone who doesn't know who you are, I love to get people's origin stories. So
Okay.
how kind of did you start in New York in fashion, to get to the point that you're at now?
Yeah, so I've always known I've wanted to work in fashion since I was a little kid. I originally wanted to be an artist, but I've just always been more creative minded, I'd say. And then I'm from New York originally, and I went to college in Pennsylvania, though I wanted to get out of New York and kind of become my own person and find myself. So I studied fashion at a small liberal arts college in Pennsylvania, and I loved it. I feel like it was my awakening as a person, finding out just who I am outside of my surroundings. And then when I graduated, I got my first job, which was at Teen Vogue, and I was the assistant to the fashion director. And I loved working there. It was definitely the dream job at the time, especially everyone was obsessed with Lauren Conrad.
I know,
and she worked at Teen Vogue. Yeah. So everyone was it was that job, the Devil Wears Prada. Everyone would kill for this job.
Right.
But definitely every job has its Devil Wear Prada moments, but it wasn't like that all the time. My bosses were really great and super inspiring and, made me want to keep working in the fashion industry. Didn't want me, after Devil Wears Prada, she's like, I'm done with this. It wasn't like that. So I did that. And then I worked at InStyle magazine. And it was when social media was kind of starting to become what it is now. Instagram had just kind of come about. I think Instagram started in 2012 or something like that. So it was just starting to take over, but influencers didn't exist. It was just mainly bloggers. And I didn't consider myself a blogger of any type like that. I honestly didn't even know what I wanted to do because I had always thought I wanted to be a fashion editor. But then magazines were changing and having layoffs, and people were like, you need to go digital if you want to stay in this industry. So eventually I ended up leaving my job. I didn't really know exactly what I was going to do. I wanted to just build my own brand. Yeah. That was the premise of everything. So I started writing this book called Making It in Manhattan, and it was all about career advice for beginners, written by almost beginner, maybe a couple of years past beginner, for beginners about breaking into the industry. And then I started working on that and slowly started posting on social media, only Instagram. It was only photos, which is crazy now because video content is everything. But yeah, and then, I'd say 6 months to a year, and I landed my first big influencer job, and it was a digital commercial for Wendy's.
Oh my God.
And, yes. And they wanted a New York City girl on the go, going about her day and then stopping for lunch at Wendy's, essentially. That's the short of it. I could go into more details, but it was great. And I learned so much from that opportunity. And I also learned, I looked at the paycheck. I was like, this is how much people get paid for this?
Girl.
I was shocked. So after that, I was like, okay, there's money to be made in, influencer still wasn't even a world, but in the digital space. And after that project, I just kept landing more projects and posting about everything and anything I was doing and posting about all the projects I was doing. And I guess that's the long of the short of it, or however they say it. That's the very abbreviated version of the story.
I love hearing that. I just love people's origin stories. That's so funny because I feel I also from the beginning, I wouldn't say from a kid, but from early high school, feel I knew I wanted to be in fashion. Yeah. And I don't know if that's a lot of people's stories.
No.
That's why I thought it was interesting when you said that, because I've told people that from the beginning. People go to people graduate college and they're like, I don't know what I want to do.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
I in ninth grade was I want to be in fashion. I want to move to New York.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I got my degree in fashion merchandising. And I moved here and I interned at Oprah magazine in the fashion department.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we had a very similar.
Oh my gosh, and we've hung out and gotten drinks. I had no idea. I don't know. I guess we're just always talking about other things. But
well, it's just funny because now I feel I don't really know what my job is. I have a lot of different jobs.
Like, the thing with influencers is we are essentially like magazines.
Yeah.
We are media outlets, and whether you're fashion or beauty, lifestyle, whatever it is, you're teaching people how to dress, how to wear something, how to do their makeup, which is essentially what magazines were doing.
Yeah, for us. Because, like, I grew up looking at magazines being like, oh, my God, I want to work here. This is what I want to do.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, I didn't really have a Devil Wears Prada experience either. Like, O Magazine was very kind to me because it's not a fashion magazine. They just had a small fashion department. But I think after I went there, it was the same thing where they were like, prints dying, like magazine editorials changing.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So I was like,
sad.
okay, I got to do something else. And I just went into the buying route and like went corporate instead. But I love that you wrote a book.
Yeah.
Like, that's so cool that you literally were just like, okay, I'm going to help other, because so many people want to break into the fashion industry in general and don't know how and don't know like what really goes on.
Totally. And I felt like there was a lot of books that were career books, but were written by people who are a lot older and who have been doing it for a really long time, and were almost like memoirs and stuff.
Yeah.
And weren't super relatable for people who were like 20 and trying to like just get their foot in the door, like just start. So I felt like there was a gap in the market for that, and that's why I was like, oh, I'm gonna write this because of that.
Perfect. I need to read your book.
I'll bring you a copy.
Yeah, but I feel like Fashion Week is another kind of mysterious thing to people because it's funny. I love all the memes and stuff during Fashion Week where everyone's like,
my God.
I can't talk, like Fashion Week is here. Like I can't do anything. I'm so busy for Fashion Week.
It's become like
its own
I don't even know
animal.
It's become like its own meme and its own pop culture moment. Like when I started out, Fashion Week was not like this.
Yeah.
It was for like a very small select group of people who were in the industry, like, from the magazine world, like editors and then buyers and trend forecasters, and then maybe like a small handful of celebrities. Like it wasn't like now it's all about like influencers and celebrities.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like that. It was like very exclusive and like quiet almost.
Right.
That it wasn't. Now you go on your TikTok For You page during Fashion Week, every video is about Fashion Week. And it's a bit crazy and overwhelming. I still love it so much, and I love what I do. But definitely when I started, it was way, maybe not publicized is the word. Like, it wasn't really publicized as much. Like, people knew it was happening.
Right.
Of course, if you were in the industry. But now, even if you're not in the industry at all, you can, like, you literally know it's happening.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's because, one, we're in New York, but also because our For You pages are, like, we have a lot of, like, influencers and, like, fashion. Yeah. So maybe everyone else's isn't, like, covered in it during this time, but, like, mine definitely is.
Yeah, same.
But I feel like I need to give, like, a brief synopsis for everyone who's not in fashion and doesn't live in New York. So, like, high level, like, quick summary of, like, what Fashion Week is and the point of it. So Fashion Week happens twice a year in New York. Well, in 4 different cities. Mm-hmm. So it's New York, London, Milan, and Paris. And in February, Fashion Week is showing the collections for fall, winter of the season ahead. Mm-hmm. And then in September, it's showing the collections for spring, summer for the season ahead. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Hopefully that makes sense. So the point is, designers come, they show their new collections, and editors and buyers and everyone else, like, I mean, the people in fashion originally are the only people that were usually there. Exactly. To basically look at the new collections and decide what they want to buy to be in Nordstrom or Bergdorf's or whatever, their boutiques. So that's kind of like what Fashion Week is or was and like the point of it.
Was.
Yeah. Now, I think social media is what changed it so much.
Absolutely.
Because before it was like, and we were just talking about this, like Bryant Park in the tints, like if you weren't invited, nobody knew what was going on in there.
Yeah,
like you couldn't really see it unless you saw it in a magazine or something because nobody was posting it everywhere and nobody was invited.
Yeah, like it was so hush hush. Yeah. Like barely anyone got invited unless you were an editor. And like when I worked at Teen Vogue, like that was still when Fashion Week was what it was.
Right.
So I remember my boss, who was the fashion director, she would go to all of the shows and then we would have to go on style.com when style.com existed. It's now vogue.com, Vogue Runway.
Right.
And we would have to pull all the images from the collections for her and like make folders for her so that she could then see all the pieces. So essentially she was trying, because the magazines work months ahead, so the shows are being shown months ahead. So essentially the editors were going to figure out what they wanted to feature in the upcoming issue. So that's what it was like all about back in the day. So we had to, after she would come back from Paris, we would have to make trend boards and trend reports of the trends. Like she would try to predict, like it was very fascinating. Like I loved my boss so much. I still do. She now has her own shoe company, but she would try to predict the trends that were gonna come in the next few months. And she wasn't even technically a trend forecaster. She was the fashion editor at Teen Vogue. And then so that was essentially her point of going to the shows. Like that's why she was going to the shows.
Yeah, that's so funny. I feel like everything you're saying is like a bringing me back because I literally did this in college. Yeah. Like I would go on style.com, pull the images, put together little mood boards.
Exactly.
And trend forecast. But now it's like a whole different world.
So different.
So now that there is social media and there are influencers, like how do you feel about Fashion Week now? Like now when you go versus back in the day?
It's just so different. So for me, and I think you could agree, like having grown up and always wanting to work in fashion, Fashion Week specifically was like the Olympics. Yeah. It was the end all be all. You'd want to go to fashion shows and like it was a dream that you just wanted so badly but felt out of reach, even in a sense. It was so mysterious. My first few Fashion Week shows, I just remember sitting literally all the way in the back, last row, just being so happy and thankful to be there. I always say, even to this day, my favorite point of the whole show is right before it starts. They turn off the lights. So everyone's first like running around. It's chaos. And I always call it the pre-show excitement. If you ever see my Instagram stories, I'll post videos and I'll be like, the pre-show excitement before Christian Siriano. And it's like buzz, 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 like craziness. And then all of a sudden, everyone sits, the lights go out, and it's just like silence. And that's the moment that I tell myself, like, you need to take a deep breath in, like, and then let it out. And that's the moment you need to remember, like, why you're there, why you love this. You're there, like, you need to pinch yourself. This is so incredible. So I feel like, unfortunately, that moment sometimes is not still so special to all the people there, if that makes sense.
It does.
It's gotten so commercialized, and there's so many people there who don't even care who the designers are and don't even really love fashion, that for me, I'm sitting there still, and whether I'm in the front row or the last row, whether I'm dressed by the brand or no one knows who I am, there's that quiet moment, and I try to go back to 20-year-old Caroline, who would have just like killed to be there and just been so thankful. So I think sometimes for me, having done this so long, I try to like quiet out the noise, and I'm like, yes, there's people who are running around getting invited to everything who don't even care who the brands or the designers are or who's being invited to what, and they don't even care about that brand or that designer. They just have somehow blown up and gotten 5 million followers, etc. You just need to focus on you, though it is so hard, and it can be so hard on your mental health during Fashion Week. Just like silencing out the noise and trying to just focus on you. I always say, like, whether you're invited to one show or 100 shows, just be so thankful and grateful that you're getting that opportunity to be there.
Yeah, I like love the way you just described that, because I totally relate and recognize that moment that you're talking about, because it is so special to me, because I just grew up like looking at these things being like, I'll probably, I don't know if I'll ever get invited to a fashion show. Ever.
Literally.
Like a real, like New York, like I just didn't think it was going to be possible. And then like, I feel like it was one of the shows I went to last year, there was a moment where I was just like, people were like fighting over sitting on the front row. And I mean, literally, it was a bench. Like, it wasn't seats. It was a bench. So, like,
the benches are the worst. Because then they just, like,
so you can squeeze in as many butts as you can try to squeeze in on these front row benches. And, like, this was, like, a show that didn't have assigned seats, like, because it was the benches. So it was kind of just, like, sections. So people were kind of just sitting wherever. And I was not trying to do that.
Yeah, you were just happy to be there.
I was like, this is a beautiful show. I'm not going to say which one it was.
Let's keep that quiet between us.
I was like, this is stunning. Like, and I before the front row bench was even full, I just went and sat in the second one, because like that's what I was invited to sit in.
Yeah.
And I just watched people come in, and like stand there and look around for like a coordinator or something, like being like, this girl's in my seat. I don't know who this girl is. I don't know who this girl is. And I was like, you guys, no one even cares about the show.
No one's even caring about the clothing what's, and that's where it gets to be very tricky, and it gets to be very, hard sometimes, because there are creators. So the buzz on social media last Fashion Week, and from someone like me I was counting, I've been going to Fashion Week for like 12 years now. The buzz on social media was influencers everyone Fashion Week. That was like what everyone was posting about, what everyone was saying. And I don't disagree, but I don't agree, because there are influencers who do love fashion and who are so thankful to be there and who genuinely like love it and have wanted to work in fashion since they were little kids. Like, that exists. But then I agree, there are creators who just like could literally care less, are not into fashion at all, but because for that week it's like the thing to do in New York, they want to be invited. And I get that as well, because like you want to create content, you want to be in the up and up of what's going on. But similar for me, like, I'm trying to think of something. Like, if there was like a cooking expo happening in Manhattan, that was like the place to be, I wouldn't be trying to sneak in and get tickets just because it's the thing to be. I'm clearly a fashion creator.
Right.
That's where my like heart lies. Like, I'm not just because that's the cool thing going to try to sneak in and go.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I like, it sucks because it loops all of the creators into one pot of like, oh, they just all are terrible.
Yeah.
But it really isn't. There's some of us who genuinely love it so much. And it's so hard from social media to know who has been doing it forever and who genuinely loves fashion and who could care less. So, like, there's no even way for communities and the followers to know who is who. So, like, it's tough.
I mean, I'm not trying to sound like elitist or anything. Like, I care more about fashion than some other people, but like some influencers will literally straight up be like, I don't care about this. Like, I don't care about the show. I don't care to be here.
They just want to go.
Yeah, it's just like it's almost like part of the job. Like, I have to go to like see and be seen, like get my photograph taken and bounce. But like, I'm literally like, when those lights go off and you have those like 7 to 10 minutes, I'm like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing in the world.
Embrace it as much as you can, soak it in. Like, I always say, like, do the deep breaths. Like, that's my favorite thing, is like to take a really deep breath and to like soak it all in and close your eyes for a second and like picture your younger self and like how proud they'd be of you, and then like let out that breath. Because yes, it happens twice a year, but like nothing's guaranteed. And though I'm invited to X amount of shows this season, that doesn't mean I'll be invited to X amount of shows the next season. So I think just always being so grateful and thankful for what is happening in the moment. Though I completely agree with you. There's people who could care less and are who invited as well. So it is tough, but I think it's hard for everyone to know. It's hard for the communities to know. It's hard for the publicists to know. Like, it's just hard to know now because there's so many creators out there.
Yeah. What would you say is like one memory or like show that like really sticks out to you as like one of your
so
favorite?
Many. So, I mean, of course, I'd always say like my first show I ever went to, which was in 2012, and it was the Anna Sui show. And the reason I was invited, because I was still in college, but the reason I was even invited is because I interned for her the summer before. Okay. And they invited all the interns to come back. Aww. And I write about this all in my book. Like, the first Fashion Week is the one you never forget because it's just so special, and there's so many moments that feel like a movie. You're just trying to pinch yourself the whole time. So I think that just overall experience was so special, and I'll never forget that. And then there was a Fashion Week when I had literally like just left my full-time job at InStyle, and I was starting to get invited to things as like not even influencer, as a creator. The influencer still didn't, like, the word influencers honestly only in the last few years, really. So I was a creator, I guess. And so I was invited. Christian Siriano always does beautiful shows in New York, but this season that I'm talking about specifically, I'm guessing it was like maybe 2017 or something like that. He did his show at the Plaza. That was like the venue. And it was just so quintessential New York. And it was in one of the grand ballrooms. And there was only like 2 rows. And they just lined the chairs around like that. And there was individual chairs. They were all gold. And they were lined around the outside. And what he also does that I also love is they print out everyone's names and put them on the seat. Nice. So you just like you take a photo of your seat and your name's there. Like, it's so special. Like, they want you there, you know? And I remember I wasn't dressed or anything because I hadn't been working with the brand that long yet. I remember what I was wearing, of course. A striped black and white sweater, a sequin skirt, and like these printed white and black like loafers. And red glasses and red lipstick. I thought I looked so cute. But anyway, I just remember running in, honestly, because I was running a little bit late, but I'm running into the venue and just like looking up and around, and it was so just like magnificent is almost the word. It was just such like a grand moment, like with the gold and the chandeliers and the carpet. And then the collection was stunning. Like there was these gowns that came out that were just like pink and had he always has such intricate gowns, but tulle and sequins and this and that. And like in that moment, I've always loved Christian Siriano, but like really fell in love with all of his work.
Aw, I feel like Christian Siriano is like bucket list for me. Like I would die to go to that show.
It's always just such a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
Really.
I feel like I have a lot of different memories associated with Fashion Week.
What's yours?
It's hard for me to pick because like my introduction to Fashion Weeks was being a model, like being backstage.
Oh, true, I guess. Yeah, it's
and
so
behind
different.
the scenes. Yeah. So like I have very special memories of like the first time I walked at like one of the really big venues, like Spring Studios.
Oh my
and like,
God, that's so special too. That's such a moment. Oh my
like
God.
That, like what did you call it? Pre-show.
Like excitement, the
Yeah,
pre-show
the pre-show excitement,
Yeah.
like was like like a backstage, like people like
Oh my
pinching you and like pulling this stuff, and like
God, I
the
love
makeup
that.
artist putting like the last touches on you, and them shoving you out like in the lights when those lights go down. Like
oh my God.
my heart like is about to explode out of my chest. Like, as soon as the lights go down, you're like, oh shit, I'm about to walk.
Oh my God. Like
it's the wildest feeling.
That in itself, you need to, write about because that energy is unmatched.
Yeah, but the first time I went to a fashion show,
Yeah.
I think it was 2015.
Okay.
A friend of mine from the corporate job I was working at, like her dad knew someone who knew someone at the venue or something.
So exciting.
And yeah, it was Monique Lhuillier.
Oh, stunning. That's a great show to go
Literally,
to.
it was like I was standing, like we barely made it in. Like I was
Yeah.
standing room in the back, but I didn't care. Like I almost cried. Like it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. I like bumped into Coco Rocha and I saw Anna Wintour for the
my
first time, and I was
God.
like, is this real life? Like what is
So
happening?
special. It feels like a dream almost.
Yeah. So now to be like, oh, I was invited to a show and like dressed by
Mm-hmm.
the designer, I'm like that. I don't know how I got here.
You're just
Somehow.
so thankful. It feels
Yeah.
like a dream. It really feels like a dream. You have to pinch yourself almost.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about how you get invited to Fashion Week.
Cool. Let's do it.
So everyone wants to know how you actually get invited to Fashion Week.
That is a good question, and I get that question a lot.
I do too.
So there's a few different ways. So I think if you're younger, because I'm going to touch on like, you're young, you're maybe in high school or college and you really love fashion and you want to break into the industry. So interning is like the best way to do it. So whether you can intern for a magazine or intern for the venue, I think the venues a lot of times look for interns and volunteers. Intern for a designer. I literally saw a designer that I'm like friendly with post the other day that they're looking for interns who can intern during Fashion Week. And like literally 2 weeks of your life, and then you'll get to go to the event. Like,
Right.
That's amazing. So like you're not per se getting invited, but you're like getting to work the event. So I'm talking more so like how to get in.
Right.
How to get in.
Start there.
I think also interning for an influencer or a creator is like an amazing way to get in and to get access. So to get invited, like the people that are being invited are editors, trend forecasters, writers, things like that. And then now influencers, creators, and celebrities.
Yeah.
I would say, right? Like
Yeah.
that's, I feel like, the basis of like who's invited. So if you're not one of those things, which is fine, it's such like a minute pool of people. I think working with an influencer, with a brand, with the venue is an amazing and great way to break in. And then if you're interested in photography and you want to be a photographer, just going and standing outside of the venues and shooting street style is an amazing way to like be part of the excitement and feel like you're part of the excitement. So those are my main tips and tricks. Like it's hard. I know everyone wants like some magic of me to be like, this is how you get invited.
Right.
So I think if you're a small creator or even like a smaller editor and you're just starting out and you're like, well, I'm a creator, but I'm not getting invited to anything. the invites don't just like come.
Right.
You need to pitch. So again, I've written about this in my book. Like, you need to reach out to the brands and the publicists, and you need to essentially, it's like talking about why you should be invited, but in a nice way. So, hi, my name's Caroline. I've been working in social media for X amount of years. I create fashion-focused content on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest. I'd love to attend the show this season and show my support across social media. You have to pitch yourself. So, like, the invites don't just come in. Like, they might if you're, like, really good friends with a brand and you've gone every single season and they always invite you and it's a no-brainer. But if you're just starting out, that's the way you're going to get noticed, is by pitching. And then when you do get an invite, as I said, whether it's 1 invite or 100 invites, make sure you go and post and support the brand. And whether it's stories or a vlog or a post or anything, I feel like it's good to show your support if the brand invited you.
Yeah. At this point, do you feel like you still have to pitch yourself? Or
So I'll be honest, I have a publicist
Yes.
who does pitch me.
Okay.
So I still am having myself pitch.
Right.
I just don't do it myself anymore. Sometimes I will if I feel like I've met the person, but the publicist before at an event, even if it was for 2 seconds.
Right.
Sometimes that personal connection really does go a long way. The only reason I have a publicist now is because I do so many other things that it's a lot of time, honestly, really writing the pitches. And I used to do it all myself for literally years.
Yeah.
I only got a publicist within probably the last few years. But it just takes a lot of time. But it is nice sometimes coming from you and giving that personal connection. And, hey, we met at an event that one time. And, you might not remember me. My name's Caroline. I'd love to attend the show this year. I'm such a fan of XYZ brand. So I think coming from yourself is really nice when you can and when it's worth it.
I feel like people more so want to know how you you said the publicist now, but how you and I get invited. Even before I went on the show, nobody was inviting me to Fashion Week. Well, I was walking in fashion shows, so I was on the other side of it. Yeah. But I think what the missing piece is, what I'm trying to say is PR teams.
Yes.
So I don't think people know about
publicists.
Yeah, publicists and PR teams,
that.
because that's they're the kind of middle person
True.
between designers and shows and who's getting invited.
True.
So if you know publicists and PR teams and they know who you are, they'll shoot you or your
team.
your team an invite and you'll get invited to the show. And then if you personally know the designer, or if your publicist knows the designer as well, then they might be like, hey, Chelsea, we really want to dress you for the show.
Totally.
So last year, season was the first time I was dressed and invited to shows in that way, because I was not
so excited.
Yeah, I just wasn't on this side of it. I was on the other side, I was running around doing castings and modeling and whatever. Yeah. So I did hire PR last season, so that's why. But it was just really cool to be for Alice and Olivia, she invited me and dressed me and that was so cool.
They always do such a great event too. So, and it just is so exciting. It's so exciting. So yeah, I think something that is great that we do talk about is a lot of times for Fashion Week. So aside from us having publicists to help with our outreach, is pretty much every single designer brand hires a PR team for Fashion Week.
Yeah.
So it's essentially figuring out which PR team is doing which shows and then reaching out to those PR teams. Because sometimes even if you reach out to the brands directly, they're like, oh, well, we're not handling the list for the show.
Right.
So, and then they, you're just lost in an abyss.
Yeah.
So if you can figure out what PR firms are doing what shows, I feel like that'll help. And the way to figure that out is kind of narrowing down the bigger New York fashion PR firms.
Yeah.
Honestly, just being a little bit creepy and doing some research. There's no shame in the game. Going on LinkedIn, figuring it out. There's no shame in that, because I always say if people posted it and it's out there, it's out there.
Yeah, very true. And also I want to paint a picture for people about Fashion Week and how it works. So during the week of New York, let's say, it's 5 to 7 days, and all the shows overlap. They're all on top of each other.
Yeah.
And also everything is very last minute. So a couple weeks before, like you don't have your schedule together, like you don't know.
Oh yeah, I still only have like a handful of things right now.
I literally don't have much going on at all yet.
It's gonna come all within like the next week. It's just gonna be like a flood.
They all come at the same time. All the shows are at the same time somehow, and you have to get from one show to another. And then like also, I feel like it's important to note that like the actual fashion shows last like 15 minutes.
Yep, at max. Yeah.
Like that's a long one.
Yeah.
So like I'm talking about models walking out from backstage until finale. It's usually like 10 to 12 minutes.
Yeah, they're quick. They're really quick.
Really, really fast. So like you'll see people like immediately get up, run to their cars because they have another show to go to.
Especially the editors. I feel like, or back in the day, that was the editor way. Like the editors would come in, sit, watch, and run out.
Right, as soon as the lights go up, gone.
Yep, literally.
Well, it's funny for modeling too because the shows overlap. If you book a bunch of shows,
goodness, yeah,
you have to like run because they want you to be there like 4 hours ahead of time for hair and makeup and rehearsal.
How could you do that?
So you have to go from one
really
show
difficult.
fully in hair and makeup from the other show, like hop in a car, run to the other one. Like you'll see models coming from like another show into the next one, like have to get undone just to get redone, and they'll be like 2 hours late. It's crazy. I don't know why it's like this.
That's well, they're trying to like squeeze, which I get, but everyone's trying to squeeze it in like into the 1 week. I
guess that, and you have to pick and choose. But getting around from like show to show is like hilarious because I always so last season again was like the first time that I really like got dressed by designers and all this stuff. So like you are supposed to wear the designer to the show if they're dressing you.
If they dress you, yes, definitely.
So like how are you getting around without a giant bag? Like I was genuinely like, how am I supposed to go to this show at 2, this show at 3, and I'm wearing clothes from this one and going to I didn't have
It's so crazy.
Like literally how did you do it? Because I don't know, I did not know how to do it.
Yeah, I get messages from people a lot because I also post daily vlogs during Fashion Week. They're like, I don't understand how you do this or get around or are dressed and at everything. I mean, when I first started out, I didn't have an assistant, but I do have an assistant, and she's with me the whole week, like by my side, knows my schedule, and knows what we're going to. So each night before, I'll like pack my outfits that I need for the next day. I'll wear the first one, whatever it is, and then say if I have 3 changes, like she'll hold the other 2 in a garment bag. I'll pack them in a garment bag, but I try to get one of those garment bags from Amazon that like folds nicely, that has an arm strap, so she's not like waddling around. Because I was an intern, or she's an assistant, but I was an assistant once, so I know how it is, and I don't want her to be like toppling over. So I try to get ones that look like a bag. So she'll have my looks. And then essentially, I mean, this is like, I'm letting you get guys in on my secrets.
Oh, tell me.
So if I have a show at 1 and then I have another show at 2 and I'm being dressed for both. So something to know that, did you realize this season? Like every show starts 30 minutes late.
Yeah, everyone's pretty late.
That's something that a lot of people, if you haven't done this before, wouldn't know. So every show starts about 30 minutes late, but not more than 30 minutes late. So if the show says it's starting at 1, it's really starting at 1:30. If it says starting at 2, it's really starting at 2:30. So I'll go to the 1 o'clock show in my look. I'll try to get there on time and, you know, get my photos taken and all that stuff. So I'm on time, checked, done. And then I'll scope out how far one show is from the other. And as the finale's happening of that show, my assistant will be requesting the Uber for the next show. So as soon as the show's like actually done, because I never want to be rude and leave when it's not done. So as soon as it's actually done, the Uber will be there. Like, because I don't feel comfortable even scheduling them. Like, oh, like scheduled to run. Because, you know, that sometimes doesn't work.
No.
So as the finale, I always say, as the first model's coming out for the finale, request, like have it done. And then we literally like full on sprint, like are sprinting to get the car. And then I'm changing in the car. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What's like something like the craziest thing you feel like has happened during Fashion Week? Like what's like a weird, like crazy moment?
There's so many. I think a lot of times it's like celebrity spottings and stuff. So I'll do 2.
Okay.
One was when I was working at Teen Vogue. And like when you work at a magazine, like they try to sit everyone from the magazine kind of together.
Yeah.
So essentially I was seated with one of my bosses at Teen Vogue, and he was like, Oh, have you ever watched that show Pretty Little Liars? This was years ago now. And I was like, yes, I'm obsessed with, like, me and my sisters were obsessed with Pretty Little Liars. Like,
we
watched
all
the whole
were when
thing.
it first started.
So I was like, yes. And he said, well, Ashley Benson, who, like, I think is in the show, is coming to sit with us, like, in the Teen Vogue section. But he's like, I've never watched that show, so I don't know who she is or, like, anything like that. So long story short, I got to sit literally right next to Ashley Benson, like, in my prime, obsessed with Pretty Little Liars phase. And we talked the whole time and, like, got to take a photo with her. And at the end, she was like, wouldn't take photos with anyone else. But because I was, like, sitting with her from Teen Vogue, I got a photo. So I sent it to my sisters. Still definitely a very proud moment. And then another funny moment is, this was, like, years ago as well, at the Jeremy Scott show. I was seated second row, and I'm sitting in my seat. And then a few minutes before the show starts, Kylie Jenner walks in, and she's seated right in front of me.
Oh my
the
God.
row right before.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, I'm starstruck, but I was like, I'm not saying anything. Like, this is so crazy.
Yeah.
But so the next day, there's tons of paparazzi, like, swarming her. The next day, the paparazzi photos are posted online, and, like, you just see, like, my head in the back of all the... And I wasn't even trying to... I was, like, literally, like, not looking, but I had on bright pink lipstick, green glasses, like, you could tell it was me. So in all the photos, like, I'm getting tagged in the comments, like, see, Vazzana, is this you? Like, behind Kylie Jenner? And I'm like, oh my gosh, which I just thought it was so cool. I was like, photo with Kylie Jenner, not really. But there's a lot of celebrity spottings, a lot of funny outfit mishaps and crazy things like that. But everything works out. It's all part of the Fashion Week magic, as I call it.
Yeah, last season I was at Bronx and Banco, and like I didn't realize that Doja Cat was there.
Oh yes, I remember that.
Oh, that's when I saw you.
Yes, I saw you.
And like I didn't see her
though.
I looked at the pictures afterwards, and I was like, Doja Cat was right there. Like what?
I didn't even see her until exactly. I think maybe you even said to me the next day or something. You're like, did you see her?
She must have snuck in and out really quick.
Like, knew what she was doing.
Yeah.
Her team was like, you're getting in, you're jumping in the car,
look at
and running out. Yeah.
And at Alice and Olivia, like when I was walking in, like Katie Holmes was walking out, and I was like,
casual.
Oh my God, what is going on? Madison Pettis was like standing right in front of me. I was like, what?
I joke that Fashion Week is the one week of the year that regular people get to feel like celebrities because we are at all these events that celebrities are at.
Yeah.
And then plus the street style photographers, it's just like a nice ego boost. They're making you feel real good. You're walking to the show, they're like, can I get a photo? And you're like, of me?
Me?
Oh my gosh. Like it's like the biggest like ego boost the whole week.
Okay, not you anymore. Like, just so you guys know, like everyone knows who Caroline is at this point. Like when I walk up to the photographer, they're like, "What's your name?" I have to like whisper it into the camera. You like they know you guys. You know them like on first name basis.
It's the glasses. It's the glasses. It's just very memorable. You know what I mean? I feel like the glasses. It makes me easy to remember.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll say. It's the excuse. It's the glasses.
She's humble. Can we talk about the glasses and like just the color in general and your style?
Yeah,
because I feel
sure.
like this is like it's your thing. Like this is your brand.
Yeah,
So how
I
did you
love
get
color.
into like? When you first started, was it all about the color and were you wearing the glasses? Like,
No, great
from the
questions.
beginning.
Great questions. So I feel like it's always been in me, if that makes sense. Like I always wanted to become this person and to dress like this and to be fearless in myself and in my style, but it definitely takes time and it's hard in a world where everyone's just trying to fit in, to be bold enough to tell yourself, well, I'm going to be different. Like, I'm going to stand out. It's definitely scary. So when I worked at Teen Vogue and In Style, my style was just normal, I'd say. I dressed how everyone else would dress. It was definitely like Gossip Girl, 2014 inspo era. I did have glasses. I just didn't wear them all the time. I really only needed them for distance at the time. So like to see the city, like street signs is what I would say. So my boss would send me out to go pick up something at Versace, and I'd need to put my glasses on because I was not affording Ubers back then. I had to take the subway.
Same.
And so I always had glasses, and it was that like I didn't like really need them all the time, but like I could have been wearing them all the time kind of vibe. It was really, and so then I went through a period where I'd only wear them sometimes. Like sometimes I'd wear them, but then like maybe for more dressy occasions I wouldn't wear them. But I wouldn't wear contacts because I've just never been a contacts girl. So essentially I would just be like not able to see the whole night. So one of the big turning points for me of realizing like glasses were kind of becoming my thing was I went to, I don't think the event still happens, pre-COVID times. Dior used to have this gala every year at the Guggenheim. And I was invited. It was my first year, and I was so excited. And I got like all dressed up, hair and makeup, and like felt so stunning and glamorous, which I still do when I look at those photos. But anyway, I later in the night was inside, and this photographer who I'm friendly with came up to me and was like, I didn't know it was you on the red carpet because you didn't have your glasses on, so I didn't take any photos of you. Can I take a photo of you now? And I was like, wow. Like, it actually like felt so, and I was still trying to grow my brand then and like just find myself in my style. And I was like, wow, that's interesting that the glasses are like such a memorable part of my wardrobe that I didn't even think of that. So then after that, I think I like invested in some more fun pairs, because at that point I only had like a couple what I'll just call like normal pairs of glasses, and started playing around with them more, because for me my glasses have become a fun accessory to put on and to style into my outfits, rather than, oh, I have to put on glasses to see. It should be more so, okay, yeah, I need to put them on to see, but it also should be fun and push me to like style them in fun and unique ways. And then I feel like in terms of color and texture and everything I do now, it's really just been a journey of trial and error.
Yeah.
That's what I always say. It's like, over the years, there's definitely been outfits I regretted, but I was always trying to find myself, and it just takes trial and error, really, like, to get to this point.
Yeah, I was just thinking about if I like ran into you at an event and you didn't have glasses on, I don't know if I would immediately recognize you.
Literally, one time I was with like another creator who I'm friends with, and she was like, wait, take your glasses off for a second. And I took them off. She's like, I don't think I've ever seen you without your glasses
I don't think I've ever seen you without them.
I will take them off whenever you want me to, but I don't think I look that much different. But I mean,
guess not different, but
if
it's just...
you've never seen me without them, like Dave jokes, Dave's my husband, he's like, you can be like Hannah Montana. We can go out, you can wear no glasses, no color. He's like, go in a black and white outfit and like no glasses, no one will even recognize you.
I can't even imagine you in a black and white outfit.
I don't think many people can. That's why Hannah Montana.
Okay, let's do my advice segment where we tell it like it is.
Mm-hmm. Tell it like it is. Oh, I love it.
Okay, let's answer a dating question, because we talked all about fashion for so long. So Caroline, for everyone who doesn't know, just got married. She's a newlywed. And how long were you dating?
A little over 9 years.
A little over 9 years.
Yes.
Just so you guys know, Caroline and I are the same age. We both just turned 30.
Yes.
Just turned 30 in August.
August. It feels like it was just the other day, though. So.
It really does. So somebody asked, what do you think is like most important for a healthy long-term relationship? Like, what's your kind of top tips for like long-term keeping it spicy, I guess?
Yeah. So I'll go two ways. So in terms of like maintaining a long-term relationship, because I feel like keeping it spicy is a whole nother question.
That's true. I kind of took a turn there.
But I feel like it's a good two-part question. So in terms of just like maintaining a long-term relationship, I think there's questions like you need to ask yourself. I think it's so important to fall in love with your best friend. Like, your partner, obviously you can have other friends too, but your partner should ultimately be your best friend. Like, your partner in crime, your ride or die, they're there for you. You're there for them, and you just talk about like literally everything. So communication is key. Dave and I talk about everything. Like, I told him I was coming to see you today. I'm going to go home. He's going to ask me all about it, what we talked about. I think just being in constant communication, whether it's the big things or the little things, if something's bothering you, if you're upset about something, that's how you get over things. Like, I see so many TikToks nowadays about like icks, and people post like, oh, I got the ick from this or that or the other. But I think that's such a crazy thing to post about, like, oh, something weird with his mouth on the first date, so I got a nick. But it's so funny, like, even the weird little things that Dave does, like, I absolutely love. Like, I love, it's so corny, but, like, I love everything about him. Like, literally anything and everything he does.
So sweet.
And I think that's how it should be with your partner. Like, don't settle. Don't be like, oh, they're great, but... Because there are things, of course, people can change and evolve and become amazing, you know, if there is something. But don't settle. Don't be like, oh, they're great, but... Like, you want to look at the person and be like, oh, my gosh, like, I'm obsessed with them. Like, they're so great. They're perfect. I wouldn't change anything about them. And like, I don't know, I think communication though, because especially when we first moved in together and stuff, like, you want to make sure, like, it's funny, he's so clean, I'm a slob, so like I'm just like, I say an unorganized or organized mess is like how a creative mind works. So like everything's all over, but I know where everything is. But he's like very organized. So that's that. But in terms of keeping it spicy, because it's like a whole nother question.
Okay, yeah, tell us.
Because obviously, like, falling in love with your best friend, as I just said, but like, this shouldn't be like a platonic relationship. Like, it's a best friend, like, you sleep with. So there's little things, like 9 years. Obviously, that's such a long time. Date nights are so important and fun, and they can be planned or unplanned. I say Dave and I, like, have date night every day, but unplanned dates are the best. Like a random Thursday, you're both just like sitting on the couch and you're like, oh, why don't we go to that like little restaurant around the corner? It doesn't even need to be fancy.
Right.
It doesn't even need to be like anything. Like there doesn't need to be so much pressure on date night. Or, you know, it's a random Tuesday and you're like, let's make tacos and like watch a movie and like, you know, put our phones away and not whatever. I think having little date nights is so important. And then even having more planned out date nights, whether you're going and trying a new restaurant together, you're going to a museum, always trying new things together and experiencing new things together. And then also just, I don't know, like there's a sense of intimacy in being with someone for so long that is sexy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just knowing them so in and out and thoroughly that like that sometimes is like more appealing than anything else.
Yeah, okay, that was really cute.
I hope that was helpful. Sorry, I went on like tangents.
No, you're like low-key making me feel like I've never been in love with anyone in my life because I can't think of one person that I've ever said like I love everything about them. Like that would be a lie.
Really? Nobody?
Like everything?
But yeah, I guess like no, yeah, like I literally like I love everything about him. Even things he does that like annoy me. Like I love them. Like I don't know.
Okay, this is what I aspire
like,
to now for marriage.
He knows. He's like, you're obsessed with me. I'm like, I am.
Okay, I've been like obsessed with people, obviously. Yeah. But like I don't even love everything about myself.
True. I mean, neither do I. So, like, I'll be the first person to say it. But it's so funny. Like, we all see things in ourselves that, like, a partner or other person doesn't see. Like, Dave and I were, like, looking at a photo of us from the other day. And he out of nowhere was like, oh, I look terrible. And I was like, you look great. What are you talking about? I was like, I look awful. I look like a toe. That's what I always say. I was like, I look like a toe. He's like, no, you don't. You look amazing. So we all just see a version. Like, we're all so hardest on ourselves.
True.
So your partner should be the one that like fluffs you up and loves everything about you, because we're never gonna love like everything about ourselves. We as humans, it's just so hard with social media and comparison and looking at other people to be like, oh my god, I hate this, I hate that, I would change this, I would change that, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But your partner should be the person that's like, no, you're beautiful, you're stunning, you're perfect, you're amazing. Like you shouldn't change anything about yourself. I love everything about you.
Yeah, I feel like to answer that original question, communication is like literally, I preach communication. So yes. I totally 100% agree with you there. I feel like that's everything else. Like obviously other things are really important too in a relationship, but like you can't have any of it without communicating.
You need to talk about everything, even things you're like scared to talk about. You're afraid they might judge you, even if it's like because of your past or this or that. Like if you're in this for the long haul with someone, like you need to talk about everything.
Yeah, and you can't be in a relationship with someone, a healthy one, where you're like afraid to tell them how you feel.
Exactly. Like, especially, if like he's doing for some reason something that's like bothering me one day, or like, I don't even know, like we all have days where things are just like irking us. Yeah. And I'm like, I need silence. Like tell them that. Just be like, hey, right now I need like silence. I'm going to go upstairs. I don't want to be spoken to for 30 minutes. Like whatever.
Right.
But I think if you don't tell them, how will they know? Like people who get upset about things because I'm making this up, but like your partner keeps like leaving a towel on a counter. I don't know. I'm making this up. But if you don't tell them, how do they know that it's upsetting you? You know, you need to tell them.
No, I saw this quote that was like, it's having hard conversations that you don't want to have. That's what will save your relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you have a hard conversation with them, even if it's something personal about yourself and your life, or it's something about their doing that you're like, hey, I'd really love if you could change this a little bit. If they don't react in a good way, then they're not the one for you.
True.
Like, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, you can communicate till you're blue in the face, but if they're not meeting you halfway, and if they're not communicating back and telling you, like, how they feel, like, then it's not the right person. And that's hard to like, come to that realization. Like, I love, like, Dave and I will, like, be driving somewhere because he drives, I do not drive. And we'll just, like, in a car be, like, having a deep conversation about, like, absolutely whatever. Life, our futures, our hopes, our dreams, our aspirations. And just like those deep conversations are so important to make sure you're on the same page, especially before you get married or something like that. Like we hard talks, what your 5 years look like, what your 10 years look like what's your like, I have this thing that I made up to him that he was like, you're crazy, but like in a good way. I call it like your deathbed things. And it's what if you were laying on your deathbed and you didn't accomplish, would you be upset that you didn't do?
Oh, that's a good one.
And I wanted to make sure like his was something to do with like having like one day owning like a little like mountain house in this one area that really brings back special memories of his childhood. And that was it. It was like that is like, if I never do that, I will be just like very, very sad. And I was like, done. Like that is in the like 10-year plan. Like
Right.
we
Make
have
sure
it
it happens.
written down, because if you don't talk about that stuff with each other and then 5 years from now you're like, I never got that home. Like, well, how would the other person know?
Yeah.
So it's just brutal honesty.
Yeah. Okay, you have been an absolute pleasure.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
No, I
hope,
love talking about.
I hope everything was helpful.
Oh my God, of course. I have one final question I ask all my guests.
Yes.
Is there anything you want to be vulnerable about?
First of all, I love all the themes of this podcast.
We love a theme.
I love it. Just so cute. Anyway, I think, to tie it back to our initial conversation with Fashion Week, it looks so glamorous online, especially in a couple weeks. Our timelines are going to be flooded with.
It's like a week.
It's literally a week.
Yeah.
I'm at this show, I'm at this party, I'm at this event. And I will be the first person to tell you that though I love it, and I just talked all about how much I love it, my mental health takes the biggest beating during Fashion Week. Like, I struggle with anxiety, I struggle with not feeling good enough, I struggle with comparison. I just struggle. And I think if you don't, oh my goodness, I wish I was you. But I think all of us struggle a little bit with anxiety and with not feeling good enough. But Fashion Week just like pumps it up to a greater level. I always joke that I'm like an extroverted introvert because I love going out and I love seeing people. But I am just like so drained, especially after COVID, I think, and spending so much time indoors. But anyway, I'm going to now spin this into a lesson a little bit, into just saying if you're at home next week and you're seeing all the Fashion Week stuff in your timeline and you're not feeling good enough and you're not feeling worthy enough or whatever it might be, no, you are not alone. Me, who is sitting here, Caroline Vazzana, who has been a creator for 7 years, is feeling the same way, who is attending shows and who is dressed and who always looks so colorful and happy. I'm struggling as well. So know that you're not alone. And the way I combat with it or deal with it is surrounding myself with like really amazing people who do uplift me and do support me. So of course, Dave, he's like my number one cheerleader. But if you don't have a Dave, surround yourself with like friends. My assistant is amazing. Family members. I'm really close with all of my siblings. Really surround yourself with people who do make you feel good. Even like last Fashion Week, me, Chelsea, and Piper, we like did a girls' night one night during Fashion Week, and it was just like nice to sit down, have a cocktail, vent about everything, the week, everything that had been happening. So surround yourself with like good supportive people who you feel comfortable venting to and opening up to and talking about it, because even something like this sitting right here, like it feels good to just talk.
Yeah.
It just feels good to like someone's listening, whether no one's listening, whether a million people are listening, whether 5 people are listening, whatever. I think that's even the beauty of social media. Like, even if one person's listening and it helps them, like, that's so important. So it just feels good to talk about it with people.
Oh, that's such a good lesson. Well, you're definitely not alone, because I even feel like that during Fashion Week sometimes too, because I'm like, I've been an influencer for, I don't know, a year and a half now. Mm-hmm. So like I'm very new in this space and this area of fashion.
Yeah.
So it's like, even when I'm comparing myself to someone like you, I'm like, she's been doing this for so many Fashion Weeks, and like,
and even I feel like this.
Yeah, and like the photographers don't know my names, and like they're literally like, you move, like let me get a picture of her. Like it's just
no.
It's just very easy to get in that mindset when you're like, imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Like,
oh my goodness.
Everyone was invited to this and I wasn't, or everyone is on front row and I'm not. Like, it's just the whole entire concept of Fashion Week when it comes to the influencer side has turned into like me comparing myself to you.
And that's why like I honestly miss the old days.
Yeah.
When it was like the editors, or mostly editors and only a few creators, or just people who are like very close with the brand. And there are still some shows that I would say really are, except a smaller pool of creators. Isn't just like everyone, whereas there's some shows it's like, it's everyone. Like, you're going to go and you're going to see literally all of New York TikTok. But you're not alone. And like, I don't think any of us are alone in this. So it's funny, like we're both saying we're struggling with this feeling of comparison. So it's like, and I'm sure we're not the only two.
No.
How do we fix this, people? Like, everyone out there listening, like, how do we fix this? Is it making each other just feel more supported, making everyone just feel good enough, making sure no one feels lesser than or alone? I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out.
Like
it's
us sitting here having this
yeah.
conversation is a start and like a step in the right direction for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you again so much for being here.
Anytime.
Please tell everyone where they can find you. You guys have to follow Caroline and see all of her colorful outfits and her Fashion Week content that's coming.
All the Fashion Week content, the vlogs are going to be great. You can follow me everywhere. My handle is at @Vazzana, which my name's Caroline Vazzana, so it's just my first initial and my last name. Then if you want to check out my book, it's called Making It in Manhattan, and I also have a website called Making It in Manhattan.
And if you guys want to follow me, it's at Chelsea Vaughn and at Chelsea Vaughn _ on TikTok. And then we have the YouTube channel now, so you can see our outfits. I kind of dressed up for our Fashion Week episode.
I love it.
Yeah, watch us on YouTube. And other than that, we will see you guys next episode.
Yay.
Yay.